Hello everyone and welcome back to English Vanessa. In this video we are going to discuss poem Television by Roald Dahl. So before moving further, let us know about the author. Roald Dahl was a British novelist, short story writer, fighter pilot and screenwriter. Roald Dahl widely recognized as one of the greatest storytellers for children of the 20th century. He received several awards, including the Edgar Allan Poe Award, World Fantasy Award for Life Achievements, Children's Author of the Year Award, and Millennium Children's Books Award. The poet addresses this poem in a third person perspective. In the poem Television, Roald Dahl criticizing the object which has made not only the kids but everyone addicted to it. He says outright that the children should not be allowed anywhere near your television set. The speaker then goes to describe the reason why it's harmful, as the kids do nothing but gape at the screen. Point this out as the first negative impact on kids from television. Here he portrays the dangerous threat which a television poses for everyone, especially the kids, and through this poem author pleads the parents not to put their kids in front of the idiotic box that is television. So now let's start the poem. It is a lengthy poem with a single sentence. We don't have stanzas in this. Let's start this. The most important thing we have learned so far as children are concerned is never let them near the television set. Or better, still just don't install the idiotic thing at all. So here in this poem, Dhal advises from his experience that people should never ever allow their children to go near the television set. It is even better not to install the idiotic thing which is called television. But why is the television an idiotic thing according to the poet? So that only throughout the entire poem Dhal attempt to answer it. Let's see the further lines. In almost every house we have watched them gaping at the screen. They loll and slope and lounge about and stare until their eyes pop out. Last week in someone's place we saw a dozen eyeballs on the floor. Now, first of all, let's see the meaning of these hard words. So, here the meaning of gaping nothing but watching something by wide open eyes. And the meaning of loll, slop, and lounge is nothing but sit or lie in a lazy or relaxed way. And pop out means come out, the eyes come out. So, here in these lines, the poet shares his experience that in almost every house he visited, he has watched children gaping at the screen. They were staring with their eyes wide open and with absolute concentration of mind. For sitting a long time before the television set, they become tired. Sometimes they sit or lie in a lazy and casual manner that loll and slope and lounge about. That means they sit and lie in a lazy manner and they get sloopy. But still they stare at the television until their eyes are too tired to watch anymore. Means they watch television until their eyes are pop out. And all these are not Dal's imagination. He indeed saw a dozen eyeballs, that is, half a dozen children, who are sitting on the floor and watching television at someone's house very recently when the poet visited them last week. Now let's see the further lines. They sit and stare and stare and sit until they are hypnotized by it, until they are absolutely drunk with all that shocking, ghastly junk. So when the children are before the television set, means in front of the television set, they sit and stare and sit for long hours. They don't seem to be moving from there, as they probably forget everything around them in the real world. Rather the one they watch on the television that becomes real for time being. They are almost hypnotized by this idiotic box. They are absolutely drunk their minds and feel those shocking ghastly junk, which are mostly unreal and inappropriate for their age. Those TV shows kill their valuable time and make them lazy with no room for the physical play and exercise. They have no scope of spending time with books and nature and interacting with others. Their mind filled with the stories and images of a virtual world. Oh, yes, we know it keeps them still. They don't climb out the windowsill. They never fight or kick or punch. They leave you free to cook the lunch and wash the dishes in the sink. Now, here the poet says that he knows that the television keeps the naughty children calm. Means when they are in front of the television set, they no more do mischievous things like climbing out the windowsill, fighting, kicking, and punching to each other. They let the mother free to cook the lunch and wash the dishes in the sink without any disturbance. But but that can't be an excuse to let them sit before the television set, because the poet thinks that the idiotic device does more harm than good. Then he further asks, but did you ever stop to think, to wonder just exactly what this does to your beloved tot? Now, the meaning of tot here, the kid. So, here, poet, the speaker, asks the parents whether they ever spent a moment to think exactly what harm this television does to their beloved child. He himself answered in a brilliant way. It rots the sense in the head, it kills the imagination dead, it clogs and clutter up the mind, it makes a child so dull and blind, can no longer understand a fantasy, a fairyland. So here poet described the negative impact of watching television. Like watching television regularly damages the sense in the head. Children are drawn away from the reality, the real world around them. They just believe what they watches without considering the context. Their own environment hardly matches with the ones they see on the screen. Like in my childhood, I used to believe in the magic pencil. One of the show I used to watch in my childhood, that Shakalaka Boom Boom. The things the children watch in the television that are unreal, but the things that are real. And it also kills the power of imagination in the mind. Children start to live in a preset imaginary world that they see on the screen. They slowly lose their own creative thinking, their own imagination. And here Roald Dahl continues to argue on how television affect a child's mind. Children watch different shows on different channels. Sometimes they are contradictory ideas. Sometimes it does not match with the reality. And they surprise. These things clog and clutter up their mind, mess up with the organized ideas and thoughts. Moreover, the child forget to think on his own. His entire mind is full of images he has seen on the television. So how would he get the time and scope to think over other things? His important time is wasted in the thoughts that are fictional and not related to his own life. Thus, his study and thoughts on how to improve his skill and personality are neglected. This is as if the child gradually becomes dull and blind. He can no longer understand a fantasy, a fairyland. The poet here feels that due to imposed imitation on thoughts, the children can no longer understand a fantasy or fairy tale. They cannot extend their imaginative power to the level. They are now used to see an image of the likely real world, a virtual reality. His brain becomes as soft as cheese, his power of thinking rusts and frees. He cannot think, he only sees. Dhal now here says that by watching television, the brain of the children becomes soft like a cheese. Children now believe everything they watch or hear on television. They cannot find their own logic to analyze and interpret the thing. Power of thinking, the thought process freezes and gets rusty. They cannot think on their own. All they do is watching and believing what others say on the television. All right, he'll cry, all right, he'll say. But if we take the set away, what shall we do to entertain our darling children? Please explain. Now, here, poet says that he knows what the parents would ask him. The question is how parents shall entertain their affectionate children if they take the TV set away for them. The poet has answered in the following lines. We'll answer this by asking you what use the darling ones to do, how use they keep themselves content before this monster was invented. Have you forgotten? Don't you know? We'll say it very loud and slow. So here the poet answered the above question only by throwing a question. What people used to do to keep themselves entertained when television was not invented. Television set is a dreaded device, a monster to him. He wants people here to remind that what they used to do in the absence of such device. I'll say it very loud and slow. They used to read, they read and read, and read and read, and then proceed to read some more. Great Scott, Gadzooks, one half their life was reading books. So here the poet himself reminds us that children in earlier times used to read lots of books. Surprisingly, people then spent half of their lifetime by reading books like Great Scott and Gadzooks. The nursery shelves held books galore, books cluttered up the nursery floor, and in the bedroom by the bed, more books were waiting to be read. So here poet describing in those earlier days the nursery shelves were full of books. In their nursery means library, books remained scattered on the floor. Even in their bedroom and by the bed, books clutter up everywhere. Such wonders find fantastic tales of dragons, gypsies, queens, and whales, and treasures isles and distant shores, where smugglers rode with the muffled oars, and pirates wearing purple pines, and sailing ships and elephants, and cannibals crouching round the pot, stirring away something hot. It is smells so good. What can it be? Good gracious, it's Penelope. Penelope means wife in Greek. So here you can see the poet talks about the popular books of adventures that children used to read in the past time. In those days, boys and girls read fantastic stories of dragons, gypsies, queens, whales, treasure island, or smugglers like pirates, ships, elephants, and cannibals, and so on. The younger ones had Beatrix Potter with Mr. Todd and Dirty Rotter, and Squirrel and Nutkin Piggling Brand, and Mrs. Tiggy Winkle, and just how the camel got his hump, and how the monkey lost his rump, and Mr. Toad and bless my soul, there is Mr. Rat and Mr. Mole. Oh books, what books they used to know, those children living long ago. So the younger children used to read stories written by Helen Beatrix Potter. He's the author of children's book, which featuring animals with a colorful illustration. So Dhal here pays a tribute to the children's author for her fantastic stories on animals. He also mentions some of the stories like how the camel got his hump and some characters like Mr. Toad, Mrs. Tiggy Winkle, etc. From those stories. So this shows that poet's love for those books and how he enjoyed them in his childhood days. Please, we beg, we pray, go throw your TV set away. And in its place, you can install a lovely bookshelf on the wall. Then fill the shelves with a lots of books, ignoring all the dirty looks, their screams and yells, their bites and kicks, and children hitting you with sticks. Dhal, the poet, now requests the parents for their own good to throw away their television set and install a bookshelf in its place. After installing a bookshelf in place of a television set, the parents will face some dirty looks, screams, yells, bites and kicks from their children. They may even hit them with stick. But the poet insists on filling that shelf with lots of books on various topics, ignoring all the dirty looks. Fear not, because we promise you that in about a week or two of having nothing else to do, they will now begin to feel the need of having something to read. And once they start, oh boy, you watch the slowly growing joy that fills their hearts. So here the poet assures us that after a week or two, those children would find nothing to do without a television set around, so they will finally feel the need to read books. They will come closer to books on their own. And once they start reading, the only way is ahead of them. They will find it interesting to read more and more books. That books will give them imagination and thoughts, the knowledge and wisdom, the satisfaction of mind and heart. They will grow so keen they will wonder what they had ever seen in that ridiculous machine, that nauseating, foul, unclean, repulsive television screen. So, here at one stage, they will grow so keen on reading books that they will wonder what they had found in that silly machine called television. They will find the television screen disgusting and unclean, as they will discover the real joy of reading books. And later, every kid will love you more for what you did. And finally, each and every kid will love the parents for giving them the opportunity to find real joy in reading the books. Even when they would grow up, they would thank their parents for taking the television set away and installing the bookshelf there. So here the poets advocates for reading and only reading, because Dhal thinks television can never be a substitute for books. Books are the only things that can deliver real wisdom. So I hope it would be helpful for you. Stay tuned for more videos and thanks for watching.